The vet froze in disbelief. His hands trembled as he looked at the screen. What he saw inside the German Shepherd's belly made him whisper the words no one expected. Oh my God. But how did it come to this? Just days ago, this loyal dog had refused to eat, refused to rest, and refused to give birth. What she was hiding inside wasn't normal, and when the truth came out, it would leave everyone, one including her owner, in tears. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The sun dipped low over the quiet suburbs as Daniel locked his workshop for the evening. His loyal German Shepherd Bella waited by the gate as she always did, her tail thumping weakly against the ground. But tonight something was different. Her eyes, usually bright and full of mischief, seemed clouded with unease. She didn't bark or nudge his hand for treats. Instead, she simply stared at him, silent, tense, and strangely protective of her swollen belly. Daniel frowned. "What's wrong, girl?" he murmured, kneeling beside her. He'd been preparing for this day for weeks. Bella was due to give birth any time now. But her breathing was shallow, her ears flicking toward every faint sound, and she refused to enter her kennel. She kept circling the spot near the old oak tree, pawing at the dirt as if trying to find something hidden beneath it. At dinner, Bella ignored her favorite food for the first time. She sat by the window, ears perked, staring into the darkness. Every now and then she would growl softly, low, cautious, like she was warning someone Daniel couldn't see. He tried comforting her, but she flinched at his touch, pressing her body protectively around her stomach. It wasn't aggression, it was fear. That night, Daniel set up a small bed for her inside the house, hoping she'd relax. But even there, Bella refused to lie down. She stood for hours near the front door, eyes fixed on the shadows outside. When thunder rolled across the distance, she whimpered, not from fear of the storm, but from something deeper. Daniel watched her, uneasy. "What are you trying to tell me, girl?" he whispered. The only answer was a low, rumbling growl that made his skin crawl. He didn't know it yet. But Bella wasn't refusing to rest. She was refusing to give birth. Because deep inside her, something was very wrong. Something no one could have ever imagined. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows as darkness swallowed the neighborhood. Daniel tossed in bed, unable to sleep. Every few minutes he could hear Bella pacing through the hallway, her nails clicking softly against the wooden floor, her breathing uneven. She hadn't slept all night. Each time he called her name, she'd stop, glance at him with worried eyes, then continue her restless march. By midnight, the tension in the house felt almost alive. Bella whined softly, her head lowered, tail tucked between her legs. Her belly shifted slightly, but there was no sign of labor. No panting, no nesting. Just an eerie stillness beneath her fur. Daniel knelt beside her again, brushing her ear gently. "It's okay, girl. You're safe," he whispered. But Bella's gaze flicked toward the window, ears twitching as if she heard something outside that he couldn't. Then it began, a sudden guttural growl. She sprinted toward the front door, barking fiercely at the darkness. Daniel jumped to his feet, startled. When he opened the door, cold air rushed in, but the street was empty. No intruders, no movement, just silence and the hum of distant thunder. Bella stepped outside cautiously, nose twitching, scanning every corner of the yard. Her instincts were in overdrive. "Come on, Bella, there's nothing there," Daniel murmured, but she wouldn't budge. Instead, she turned her head and let out a low, mournful whine, the kind she only made when something was terribly wrong. Her body trembled. She pressed herself against his leg, eyes pleading, as if begging him to understand something she couldn't explain. By dawn, Bella had stopped eating entirely. Even the smell of her favorite chicken treat didn't move her. She just sat there by the door, guarding her belly like a secret. Daniel's heart twisted with worry. "You're scaring me, girl," he admitted quietly. The storm clouds faded, but the heaviness in the air didn't. When she finally lay down, her breathing grew uneven, a strange rhythm between fear and exhaustion. Daniel sat beside her, running his hand over her trembling body, trying to hide his own fear. Something wasn't right. Bella wasn't just afraid. She was warning him. By sunrise, Daniel couldn't take it anymore. Bella's breathing had grown shallow, and her once bright eyes were now glazed with fatigue. She lay curled near the door, refusing to move, her body tense with invisible pain. When Daniel gently touched her belly, she let out a sharp whimper, the kind that tore straight through his heart. That was it. He grabbed his keys, wrapped her carefully in a blanket, and whispered, "Hang on, girl. We're going to get help." The drive to the veterinary clinic felt endless. Rain misted against the windshield, and every bump in the road made Bella wince. Daniel kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other resting gently on her side. "You've been through worse," he murmured. "You're strong. You'll be okay." But his voice trembled with fear he couldn't hide. When they arrived, the staff rushed forward. Dr. Harris, a kind-faced vet in his 40s, immediately recognized Bella. "She's due any day now, right?" he asked. Daniel nodded, his voice tight. "But she's not. She's refusing. She won't eat, won't rest, nothing." Dr. Harris placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Let's take a look." He led Bella into the examination room where the fluorescent lights glared against the cold metal table. Bella's tail tucked low as she whimpered, pressing closer to Daniel. The vet began his examination carefully, checking her heartbeat, temperature, and reflexes. Everything seemed normal, except the tension in her muscles and the unusual stillness of her abdomen. Dr. Harris frowned. No contractions, no fetal movement." He exchanged a worried glance with the nurse. Daniel's heart pounded. "What does that mean?" The vet sighed. "I'm not sure yet, but I think we should run an ultrasound, just to be safe." Bella's ears twitched at the word safe, but her eyes told a different story. They were filled with something deeper than pain, a quiet, desperate fear. And as the nurse prepared the equipment, Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. Something inside Bella wasn't right, and soon they'd find out why. The ultrasound room was quiet except for the soft hum of machinery. Daniel stood near the table, his hand resting gently on Bella's head. She lay still, her breathing heavy, eyes darting between him and the vet. Dr. Harris spread the cool gel over her swollen belly and switched on the monitor. The gray-blue light flickered to life, filling the dim room with a cold glow. "Easy, girl," Daniel whispered, stroking her fur. Bella trembled beneath his touch. Her ears twitched with every sound, the clicking of buttons, the soft whir of the machine. Dr. Harris moved the probe carefully across her abdomen, watching the shifting patterns on the screen. For a moment, everything seemed routine. A faint rhythm, a heartbeat, flickered. Then another, and another, but something felt off. The vet leaned closer, adjusting the focus. His brow furrowed. "That's strange," he murmured under his breath. Daniel's pulse quickened. "What do you see?" he asked, his voice unsteady. Dr. Harris didn't answer immediately. He squinted at the monitor, moving the probe slightly. "There are multiple heartbeats," he said finally. "But the formation, it's unusual." The nurse stepped closer, frowning. The outlines on the screen didn't look like ordinary puppy positions. It was as though they were all clustered together, almost layered, overlapping in a way that defied explanation. Bella let out a soft whine, her muscles tightening. The vet paused, sensing her distress. "Shh, it's okay," he whispered, adjusting the probe again. The image flickered, and for a split second a dark mass appeared between the glowing outlines. Dr. Harris froze. "What was that?" Daniel asked, stepping forward. The vet replayed the frame slowly. There it was again, something solid embedded deep within the womb, pulsing faintly with the surrounding heartbeats. His throat went dry. "That shouldn't be there," he muttered. Bella whimpered again, turning her head toward Daniel, her eyes wide and pleading. He could feel her body trembling beneath his hand. The nurse's voice broke the silence. "Doctor, what is that?" Dr. Harris swallowed hard. I don't know yet," he said, barely above a whisper. Then he looked up, eyes dark with concern. "But whatever it is, it's not supposed to be inside her." Daniel's stomach twisted. For the first time, he realized this wasn't just a difficult pregnancy. It was something far more terrifying. Dr. Harris stepped back from the monitor, his face pale under the harsh fluorescent light. The room had gone completely silent except for the faint hum of the ultrasound machine. Daniel could feel his heart pounding in his ears. "What is it?" he demanded, his voice shaking. The vet didn't answer right away. He took a deep breath and stared at the frozen image on the screen, a tangled blur of small heartbeats surrounding a dark, unfamiliar mass. "I've been doing this for 20 years, he finally said quietly, "and I've never seen anything like this before." Daniel's grip on Bella tightened. You mean it's not the puppies? Dr. Harris slowly shook his head. Partly yes. The heartbeats are definitely from the puppies. But whatever that other shape is, and it's not normal tissue. It's solid, it's foreign. He looked over at the nurse, whose wide eyes mirrored his own fear. Bella whimpered again, pressing her head weakly against Daniel's hand. Her breathing quickened, her eyes darting toward the door as if she wanted to escape. The nurse tried to comfort her, but she flinched at the slightest touch. Dr. Harris leaned closer to the screen once more, zooming in on the strange image. The shadows shifted, and for a moment it almost looked like the object pulsed and bed us, as if it was alive. The vet's hand trembled. Oh my God, he whispered under his breath. Daniel's throat tightened. What do you mean, oh my God? What's happening to her? Dr. Harris turned toward him slowly, the gravity in his eyes enough to make Daniel's stomach drop. I don't want to jump to conclusions, he said carefully, but this could be serious. Whatever's inside her, it's affecting her ability to give birth. Bella whined louder, her body shaking uncontrollably now. Daniel knelt beside her, tears burning his eyes. You're going to be okay, girl, he whispered, though his voice was breaking. The vet stepped back, exhaling shakily. We need to act fast, he said. I'm not sure what's inside her, but it could be the reason she's refusing to give birth. Before Bella ever belonged to Daniel, she had already lived through more than most could bear. 3 years earlier, she wasn't a house pet. She was a rescue canine serving with a disaster response team. Her handler, Officer Ryan Hale, often said she had the instincts of an angel. She could sense danger before anyone else. From buried survivors under collapsed buildings to hidden gas leaks no human nose could detect. Bella had saved dozens of lives, earning her place as one of the most trusted dogs in the unit. But one mission changed everything. It was a cold winter morning when the earthquake hit a nearby industrial zone. The team was dispatched immediately. Buildings were reduced to dust. Fires burned through the wreckage, and cries echoed from beneath the debris. Bella ran ahead, nose pressed to the ground, barking sharply to signal a trapped survivor. Ryan followed, trusting her every move. Moments later, an explosion rocked the site. A metal structure collapsed, separating Bella from her handler. She was trapped, surrounded by twisted steel and burning fumes. When rescuers finally reached her hours later, her body was bruised, her fur singed, and something sharp was embedded deep in her side. A fragment of experimental debris from the research facility nearby. No one ever figured out what it was. Ryan never returned from that mission. He was listed among the missing. Bella was treated, healed, and later retired from service. She was quiet afterward, distant, almost haunted. Shelter staff said she would sometimes sit by the gate for hours, staring into the distance as if waiting for someone who would never come back. That's when Daniel found her. He'd visited the shelter to donate supplies but ended up meeting her eyes through the fence. Something in that look, a mixture of sadness and silent strength, made him take her home that same day. Over time, she learned to trust again, sleeping by his feet, protecting him like a guardian. But tonight, as she lay trembling on the vet's table, it was as if those old memories had come rushing back. The fear, the pain, the instinct that something unseen was happening again. And deep inside her, the past was about to collide with the present, in a way no one could have foreseen. The hum of the ultrasound machine still echoed faintly as Dr. Harris removed his gloves, his expression grim. Bella lay quietly now, her breathing uneven, eyes fluttering with exhaustion. Daniel stroked her ear gently, whispering, "You're okay, girl. Hang in there." But the silence between every word felt heavy, like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. Dr. Harris turned toward the monitor one last time. The strange dark shape still pulsed faintly on the screen. "I've ruled out infection, fluid buildup, or fetal obstruction," he said, his voice low. "This isn't any of those." The nurse frowned. "Then what could it be?" He hesitated. Something foreign. Something that shouldn't be inside her at all. He pointed at the faint outline. It's metallic in density, not organic. But the strangest part is how the puppies are positioned around it. They're not distressed. It's as if they're protecting it. Daniel's brows knitted. Protecting it? You mean like it's part of them? Dr. Harris shook his head. No, more like they sense it's dangerous, but they're staying close anyway. His words sent a chill down Daniel's spine. Bella whimpered softly, her paw twitching. Her eyes opened briefly, locking with Daniel's, wide, pleading, aware. She seemed to understand what they were talking about. The nurse broke the silence. Doctor, could it be a microchip? Maybe an old one. Dr. Harris considered it, his jaw tightening. Possible. But I've seen hundreds of implants and none this size and never embedded inside the womb. He exhaled slowly. Whatever this is, it's triggering her instincts. She's refusing to give birth because her body is fighting something she believes could hurt her litter. Daniel's chest tightened. So what do we do now? The vet met his eyes, his voice steady but urgent. We don't have time to wait. If we delay any longer, she could lose everything. He glanced toward the surgical room door. Prepare the table. We're going in. And just like that, the mystery that had haunted Bella since her past was about to be cut open, revealing a truth no one was ready to face. The decision came faster than Daniel could process. One moment, Dr. Harris was studying the monitor. The next, he was issuing sharp orders to the nurses. Prep for emergency surgery. Full sterile setup, now. His tone left no room for hesitation. The nurses hurried into motion, pulling on gloves, sterilizing instruments, and rolling in the operating table. Daniel's throat felt dry. Surgery now? Dr. Harris nodded gravely. If we wait, her body might shut down completely. She's fighting something she doesn't understand, and that's killing her. Daniel glanced down at Bella. Her eyes were half open, her breathing shallow but rhythmic. She looked up at him weakly, her tail giving a faint twitch as if saying it's okay. But it wasn't okay, not for Daniel. He could barely speak through the tightness in his chest. Will she make it? He asked, voice trembling. The vet hesitated, then spoke softly. We'll do everything we can. As the staff lifted Bella onto the surgical table, Daniel instinctively followed. You can't stay inside, the nurse told him gently. We'll call you when it's over. He froze, watching as they placed an oxygen mask over Bella's muzzle. Her eyelids fluttered once before closing. The sound of the heart monitor filled the room, steady, fragile, alive. Dr. Harris injected anesthesia and made one final check of her vitals. Scalpel, he said. The nurse handed it to him, hands shaking slightly. The cold steel glinted under the overhead light. Outside the glass window, Daniel pressed his palms against the barrier, whispering her name. Inside, Dr. Harris worked quickly, every motion precise. The room was tense, the only sounds the rhythmic beeping and the soft hum of machines. Blood pressure's dropping, the nurse warned. The vet's jaw tightened. Hold it steady. Daniel's mind raced. Memories of Bella's loyalty flashed before him. How she'd guarded his home, comforted him when he was sick, wagged her tail at every sunrise. Now she was fighting for her life, and he couldn't do anything but wait. Outside, the first rays of morning light broke through the clinic window, casting a pale glow across his worried face. He whispered, Please, girl. Come back to me. Inside the operating room, Dr. Harris's scalpel made its first careful incision, and with that single cut, the truth hiding inside Bella was about to be revealed. The room fell into a heavy silence as the first incision was made. The rhythmic beep of the heart monitor echoed like a countdown, each tone reminding everyone how fragile the next few moments were. Dr. Harris's eyes were sharp behind his mask, his hand steady despite the tension in the air. Retractor, he murmured. The nurse handed it over quickly. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the metallic tang of blood. Bella's body remained still under the anesthesia, her chest rising and falling softly. Daniel watched helplessly from behind the glass, his hand pressed against it, whispering her name under his breath. You're strong, Bella. You're the bravest girl I know. Inside, Dr. Harris worked methodically, his every motion deliberate. We're going to reach the uterus soon, he said to his assistant. Be ready with suction. A few moments later, the incision deepened, revealing a faint shimmer beneath the tissue, an almost metallic glint. The vet froze. Wait, what's that? The nurse leaned forward, eyes wide. Doctor? That doesn't look right. He carefully brushed away the surrounding fluid, revealing what looked like a thin, silver fragment buried deep near the womb wall. It wasn't natural. It reflected the surgical light like polished metal. This can't be possible, he muttered, leaning closer. It's embedded inside her lining. The nurse hesitated. Could it be from her old injury? Maybe, he replied, voice strained. But if it's grown this close to the puppies, suddenly the heart monitor spiked. Heart rate rising, the nurse called out. Bella's breathing grew shallow. We're losing pressure. Dr. Harris's voice sharpened. Epinephrine, now. He stabilized her pulse, hands trembling for the first time. Beads of sweat formed on his brow. Okay, steady. Steady. Then amidst the chaos, something on the monitor flickered. Multiple small pulsing heartbeats. The puppies, the nurse whispered. They're still alive. Dr. Harris exhaled shakily. We're not losing them. Not today. He refocused, moving carefully around the metallic shard. Prepare for extraction, he said, voice steady but heavy with disbelief. As he made the final incision to remove the object, a strange sound filled the room, not mechanical, not organic, something faintly humming, almost alive. Everyone in the room exchanged terrified glances. Whatever was inside Bella was not supposed to exist. The hum grew louder, faint yet unnerving, a pulsing vibration that made the metallic instruments on the tray tremble. Dr. Harris's eyes widened beneath his mask. What in the world? He whispered. With slow, deliberate precision, he used a pair of forceps to grip the strange object lodged near Bella's womb. The metal resisted for a moment as if clinging to the tissue around it, then finally gave way with a soft tearing sound. As it lifted free, the room froze. The object wasn't a fragment of debris or bone. It was a capsule, smooth, silver, perfectly round, no larger than a walnut but faintly glowing with a cold blue light. A thin pulse of energy seemed to ripple across its surface. The nurse gasped, stumbling back. That's not medical equipment, she stammered. Dr. Harris held it up carefully, his gloved hands trembling. The capsule emitted a faint hum that resonated through the air like a heartbeat. It's fused to her tissue, he murmured, examining the ends. Almost like it was implanted. Years ago. Daniel, watching through the glass, saw the vet's face pale. He couldn't hear their words, but he could see the fear in their eyes. What is that? He muttered aloud, pounding on the glass. What did you find? Inside, Dr. Harris looked to the nurse. Get a containment tray now. Don't touch it directly. As they placed the capsule down, the monitor flickered. Bella's heartbeat skipped, then stabilized again. At that exact moment, the ultrasound display, still running in the corner, showed movement. The puppies inside her womb shifted simultaneously, their tiny heartbeats pulsing in rhythm with the capsule's glow. The nurse froze. Doctor, they're responding to it. Dr. Harris stared at the capsule, realization dawning. It's not just foreign material, he said quietly. It's transmitting something, some kind of frequency. It's been influencing them from the inside. A chill ran down his spine. The implications were beyond anything he could comprehend. Whatever this device was, it wasn't meant to harm. It was connected, alive in some way. He turned toward Daniel through the glass, voice low but filled with awe and disbelief. This isn't just a birth complication, he whispered. It's something far greater. And as Bella's vitals stabilized, the capsule's light slowly dimmed, like it had finally completed whatever purpose it was designed for. For a long moment, no one spoke. The metallic capsule sat under the harsh light, faint traces of its blue glow fading into silence. Dr. Harris stared at it as though it held the answer to a question no one had ever dared ask. Daniel burst into the operating room, unable to stay behind the glass any longer. What did you find? He demanded, his voice trembling. The vet glanced at him, then back at the object. Daniel, this isn't something we normally see in animals. It's not natural, it's manufactured. Daniel blinked, struggling to understand. You mean someone put that inside her? Dr. Harris nodded grimly. Years ago, maybe. There's scar tissue around it, old, healed over. It's been inside her since before she came to you. The words hit Daniel like a blow. His mind raced back to Bella's past. The earthquake, the research facility, the mysterious debris embedded in her side. The rescue mission, he whispered. She was trapped near that lab. The vet frowned. A lab? Daniel nodded quickly. Yes, they said it was some kind of government project site. She must have been exposed to something there. Dr. Harris's eyes widened. That explains it. This capsule isn't a simple chip. It's a prototype biosensor. Look, he pointed to faint markings etched along its surface. A serial number followed by 3 faded letters. GSD, the abbreviation for genetic signal device. It was designed to sync with living organisms. Maybe to monitor, maybe to protect, the nurse gasped. Protect? From what? Dr. Harris exhaled slowly. Whatever this was meant to do, it connected itself to her womb, shielding the unborn pups instead of harming them. It must have activated during pregnancy, sending out those signals we saw. Daniel stared at Bella, overwhelmed. So she wasn't refusing to give birth out of fear. She was protecting them, waiting for the danger to pass. Dr. Harris nodded solemnly. Her instincts were stronger than any machine. The device may have been built in a lab, but what kept those puppies alive was something no science can measure. A mother's will to protect. The capsule lay still, its light now completely gone. Bella's heart monitor beeped steadily beside her. The impossible truth had finally surfaced. She was carrying not just life, but a miracle born from both science and love. The night outside had turned calm, the storm clouds drifting away as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Inside the operating room, the air was thick with anticipation. Bella's heartbeat had steadied, her breathing smooth under the soft rhythm of the monitor. Dr. Harris removed his gloves, wiping the sweat from his forehead. She's stable, he said quietly. Now we wait. Daniel stood at her side, one hand resting gently on her paw. You did good, girl, he whispered, his voice trembling with pride and relief. For hours she had fought through fear, pain, and the strange force within her body. But now something was shifting. The warmth returned to her fur, her body relaxed, and a low, tired whine escaped her throat. Then the first sound broke the silence. A faint yelp. Dr. Harris's head snapped up. She's delivering, he said, his voice low but urgent. The nurses moved quickly, preparing towels and medical trays. Another cry followed, stronger this time. Within minutes, the first puppy entered the world, slick and trembling yet alive. Then came another, and another. Daniel felt tears blur his vision as he watched the small, fragile lives wiggle under the warm blankets. 9, the nurse counted softly. 9 healthy pups, Dr. Harris stared in disbelief. After everything, all of them survived. Bella lifted her head weakly, her eyes glassy but full of warmth. She nudged the nearest pup with her nose, licking it gently. The tiny creature let out a soft whimper and nestled against her chest. The rest followed, their tiny bodies pressing close to her heartbeat, a sound they had somehow known even before birth. Under the soft light, Daniel noticed something extraordinary. Faint silvery markings on each pup's fur, forming tiny patterns resembling Bella's old canine emblem. He whispered, almost to himself. It's like they carry her legacy. Dr. Harris nodded slowly, awe written across his face. They were protected, just like she wanted. Tears slipped down Daniel's cheek. You did it, Bella, you saved them. The vet smiled faintly, his voice full of reverence. After all she's been through, this isn't just survival, he said. It's a miracle. And in that moment, surrounded by new life and quiet wonder, the room no longer felt like a clinic. It felt holy. Morning sunlight streamed through the clinic windows, painting the room in soft gold. The storm had passed, and the air felt lighter, almost sacred. Bella rested peacefully now. Her newborn puppies nestled close, their tiny bodies twitching as they dreamed. Daniel sat beside her, eyes still swollen from tears, unable to look away from the miracle before him. Dr. Harris stood near the foot of the bed, arms folded, studying the monitor. His face was calm but thoughtful, the kind of look a man wears when he's trying to understand something beyond science. I've seen hundreds of births, he said softly, but this defies every rule I know. Daniel glanced up. You think that device protected them? The vet nodded slowly. I do. The capsule's design, it wasn't just a tracker or sensor. It emitted a biofrequency, something that bonded with her body. It may have integrated with her maternal instincts, amplifying them instead of interfering. He walked closer to Bella, lowering his voice. It's like the technology and her instinct worked together. Whatever that capsule was made for, it didn't harm her. It learned from her. Adapted. Protected what she loved. Daniel looked down at Bella, who was licking one of her pups tenderly. She knew, he whispered. All along. She could feel it. Dr. Harris smiled faintly. Animals have instincts we can't measure, but sometimes they connect to something greater than instinct. Something spiritual. That's what happened here. Bella wasn't afraid to give birth, and she was waiting for the right moment. Her body, her mind, even that machine, they all aligned. The nurse standing quietly nearby wiped her eyes. You mean she refused to give birth until it was safe? Yes, Dr. Harris said, nodding. She waited for the danger to pass, and when she finally trusted that moment, nature took over. He turned to Daniel and smiled. You don't just have a dog, Daniel. You have a living miracle, proof that love and science can coexist in the same heartbeat. Bella stirred softly, as if understanding his words, her eyes glowing with quiet pride. 2 days later, the clinic smelled of warmth and new beginnings. The storm, the fear, and the sleepless nights felt like a distant memory. Daniel pushed open the door to the recovery room, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers in one hand. The sunlight spilled across the tiled floor, landing softly on Bella's bed. She lifted her head immediately, her ears perking up as soon as she saw him. Hey there, girl, Daniel whispered, his voice thick with emotion. He set the flowers on the side table and knelt beside her. Bella wagged her tail weakly, a quiet rumble of happiness escaping her chest. Around her, 9 tiny puppies squirmed and squeaked, their little bodies huddled together like a bundle of pure life. Daniel reached out, brushing his fingers gently across her head. You scared me half to death, he murmured. But you did it. You really did. Bella leaned forward, pressing her muzzle against his hand, the same comforting gesture she'd used when she first came home years ago. It was her way of saying thank you. Daniel swallowed hard, blinking back tears. Dr. Harris entered quietly, smiling at the sight. She's recovering beautifully, he said softly. Strong heartbeat, no infection, and these little ones, all healthy. Daniel chuckled under his breath, watching the puppies wriggle closer to their mother. They're already protective, he said. Just like her, the vet nodded. She's more than a mother, she's a survivor. One of the puppies yawned, its tiny paw resting against Bella's chest. Daniel smiled. They even sleep like her, he said, his voice breaking with affection. Dr. Harris glanced at the chart and then back at Bella. We'll keep her another day for observation, he said. But honestly, she's ready to go home. Daniel looked down at Bella, his eyes glistening. Home, he repeated softly. Yeah, girl. Let's go home. Bella gave a low, contented sigh, her tail tapping gently against the blanket. In that quiet room, surrounded by warmth, Daniel finally realized something profound. Sometimes miracles don't appear in flashes of light. Sometimes they breathe, wag their tails, and look at you with love that needs no words. A week later, the world outside was alive again. Blue skies, golden light, and the hum of ordinary life. But inside Daniel's small countryside home, everything had changed forever. The living room had become a nursery of warmth and joy. Bella lay peacefully on a soft blanket near the fireplace, her 9 puppies curled around her like tiny sunbeams. The crackling fire painted their fur in shades of amber and gold. Daniel sat beside them, a mug of coffee in his hands, but his eyes never left Bella. Every few moments, one of the puppies would squeak or stretch, and Bella would nudge them gently, eyes soft with that endless motherly love. It was hard to believe that just days ago she had been fighting for her life, and theirs, the old metallic capsule, now sealed safely inside a glass case on the mantel, caught the morning light. Dr. Harris had insisted it be preserved, not as a mystery but as a reminder that what science couldn't explain, love somehow could. Daniel smiled faintly. You refused to give birth because you were protecting them, he said softly, his voice filled with awe. You knew something we didn't, you always do. Bella lifted her head, her eyes meeting his. There was something timeless in that look, wisdom, strength, and gratitude. Then, as if understanding every word, she rested her chin on her paws, watching her puppies sleep. Outside, a breeze rustled through the trees, carrying the faint scent of spring. Daniel stood and looked out the window, his reflection merging with Bella's behind him. You're my hero, he whispered. You've always been. Later that evening, Dr. Harris called to check in. How's our miracle family? He asked. Daniel chuckled. Sleeping peacefully. All of them. The vet's voice softened. Good. Keep that capsule safe. It's history now. But what truly saved them wasn't technology, Daniel. It was her heart. Daniel looked back at Bella and smiled. Yeah, he said quietly. She's proof that miracles don't need logic. Just love. He knelt down, scratching behind her ear. Rest now, girl. You've done enough. As the fire crackled and the puppies dreamed beside their mother, the house filled with a silence so deep it felt sacred, the kind only born after witnessing a miracle. If you believe love can create miracles, share Bella's story, Daniel's voice would later say in the video's ending narration, because sometimes even science has to bow before the heart of a mother.